In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you one of my sales calls where I use hypnotic principles on how to actually put someone in a suggestible state where they embed my frames, not on a conscious perspective, but from an unconscious perspective as well. Where now, if they give me objections like, I'll need to think about it, and I ask them, where is it coming from? The only way that they can give me that answer is limitations. Let's get right into it.
My mother didn't like it.
So my mother was very controlling when it came to her. And she didn't like the fact that I wanted to spend more time with the nanny than I did with her.
So, giving you guys context here, she came in the call. I asked her, what are you looking to achieve with hypnosis? She was like, I don't know. I just want to remove some limiting beliefs that I have. I'm selling one session for 10K. And someone comes to the call like that, it's already a red flag. So, this is how I structure everything in the call where I have her be like, oh, shoot, this is what I really need now. Let me pause you there for a second. Like, how old are you right now, by the way?
I'm in my 40s.
40s? Like, exactly how old, by the way?
I don't want to tell you.
The reason why I'm asking is because the first time you ever felt this fear of like success or this jealousy, whatever it is, right? As the age.
I'll tell you, no, I was probably about 8 or 9. So we're looking at over 40. Yeah, we're looking at basically 40 years ago.
40 years, like 48, 49. Like, so, like, it's been about 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you see a pattern here, by the way? So that's my first ever question that I induced confusion. Like, why do I induce confusion, by the way?
Because they're in a state where now they're confused and they want to go to you for the answer. So they're more suggestible.
So the brain is what? The brain is a pattern recognition tool. Why? Because the brain is optimized for survival. If it's the same pattern, the brain perceives that safe. But once the pattern is broken, then the brain has a fire alarm going on. That's what generates focus. And also at the same time, uncertainty creeps in, doubt creeps in. And once doubt creeps in, the human mind is subject to looking for something that is certain. Let's say you're lost in the streets. So you go to a person next to you and then say, hey, how can I get to this destination? Even though the person knows 100% how to get there, the person says, I don't know, maybe like you go over here and you turn right and you turn to the left and you'll have to see from there. Your uncertainty is amplified. But let's say you go to a stranger again and the stranger's like, go straight, turn left, and you'll see it right away. We have no idea whether the stranger knows, but just because of the level of conviction and certainty that the stranger has, it's like, oh, shoot, this guy must have the answers. What pattern do you see? And I'll tell you from my perspective what I've observed so far, by the way, if you want to believe it. But what pattern do you see?
So the pattern is I always have to prove myself. I'm not good enough. When I try to rise, I am pushed down by others that feel insecure. Jealousy's been a big part of my life. And all the careers I've had, except for the corporate, it wasn't so bad in the corporate world, to be fair. Corporate world has other problems. But
there we go. It started from, I'm just here to overcome a few limiting beliefs. Now, like, actually verbalizing what she's going through. So now my job is to have her make sure that she has those internal dialogue, let go.
I would always end up having managers, like my sister-in-law, who were not as educated as me or smart as me, but what they would be, they're in senior positions in the lower paid jobs that I've done. And they would steal my ideas and take it for themselves.
Yeah. And therefore, you know what you're doing to yourself?
What?
You know what you're doing to yourself? What? That's the moment. It's called the opening, where it's like there's doubt, uncertainty created. What do you think you're doing to yourself by you telling those internal dialogues?
Well, I'm not helping. I'm reinforcing those beliefs.
So this is the frame that I was going to plan, but she planned herself already. Because the frame that I always like to plan is the harder you fight for a limitation, the more you get to keep it. That was the frame that I was going to insert, but she already planned it for me. So now whatever objection she gives me, it's like, what? You fight hard for a limitation, you get to keep it. Now I can overcome it that way. You know the funny thing about limitations, by the way?
Yeah.
The harder you argue for a limitation, the more you get to keep it, by the way.
You keep reinforcing, yeah?
Yeah, like the harder you argue for a limitation, you get to keep it. Now this is the pattern that I see. Take it or leave it, by the way. Like in the beginning, you remember you told me about like removing fear of success in the end to actually remove that glass ceiling that you have in your life, right? Whether it's income, relationship, whatever it is, right? And then I said, where's that fear of success coming from? You told me, well, because if you're successful, people get jealous over you, right?
Yeah.
And then I asked you, okay, well, I mean, for you, like, what life have you got? Like, you were talking about basically your life, right? In terms of like when you first felt this fear of success and like this guilt. Or even that's not good enough. You told me about an incident where you wanted to go to college and everything. You wanted to live your own life, but it seemed like someone in your family was extremely jealous and wanted to take favor of your mother. And therefore, you felt like you have to fight for it. And therefore, you felt the jealousy and you got to be jealous for that other person as well. And therefore, you create this notion of success where if you achieve X, Y, Z in your life, you become, like, you attract jealousy in your life. And therefore, you don't want to actually become successful when you know you deserve it in a way. So it's like a projection,
Double-edged sword.
inwards, outwards, inwards, outwards, just reinforcing that belief that you have that gets you to what? Your projection of your own life becomes what? The projection of your external life as well. What you tell yourself consistently becomes your external reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. I
Yeah.
absolutely understand that.
Because taking you back to the first moment where you felt where you felt this guilt and shame, I'm not good enough, and I gotta keep on pushing hard,
Yes.
which you were like even 11 or even like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And let's say you never had those instances. Let's say you never really put meaning behind it, never had emotions behind it. It was just happening to you, and you never really told yourself, "I'm not good enough." And you lived a life of being completely unapologetic, completely you, free of jealousy within you and from outside as well. What life would you be living by now?
I'd be a millionaire in finances, not just assets.
And what else?
I'd be happier. I don't think I'd have this conflict within myself. I don't get a lot of support because I feel like I have to do everything myself. So I wouldn't have that. Since my mother's passed, I was very social in London. I'm not as social as I used to be. And the other thing is, Jun, because I don't look my age, I have friends and colleagues from in their 20s right up to their 60s. Yeah, that's because I look after myself.
If you see over here, the pattern has induced confusion. There's an opening, embed frames, then sort of like a psychoanalysis over here. She mentioned about fear of success in the first like 7 minutes. And once she feels like, oh, this person gets me, but this person can also describe my problem and actually show a different perspective of it, that's where I'm automatically set as an authority right now. I'm reiterating every single thing that she told me in the sales call. It shows to her that I'm listening to her. And that itself is pattern interrupt because how many people in this world actually listen? And now the question comes down to, let's say you never had that I'm not good enough dialogue in place. What life would you be living by now? It's not a future pacing question. It's like, what have you lost by you having that internal dialogue in place? And what life would you be living by now? I'd be more successful. And what else? I'd be happier. It costs your happiness. Because what's more important now? Holding on to that internal dialogue that doesn't make you happy, or actually living your life, getting the right help in place so that you can actually be happier. From a tactical standpoint, if the cost of the lost potential seems higher than the actual cost of the program, the cost of the program is justifiable. So for me, it's very difficult to get a value objection, even though I sell one session for 10K. I can already imagine how hard your life would have been. And I'm not saying hard in terms of what you've gone through in your external situation, by the way, in terms of the challenges that you faced or your internal problem with your family. It's not about that. I can imagine how hard your life would have been because you're very harsh on yourself. Like you're extremely harsh on yourself. And how did you know this? Yeah, go on, by the way.
What makes you think? I think I've mellowed on myself.
Well, let me tell you. The fact that you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough. I know she's 100% harsh on herself because usually when someone says, I'm not good enough, they usually become too harsh on themselves. Because if they really felt good for who they are, why would they be harsh on themselves? She's constantly talking about comparing herself with other people. Who told her to be jealous with other people? And the fact that she's like, I've been very mellow on myself, reconfirms the fact that she's been harsh on herself. When you say, I'm not good enough for X, Y, Z reasons, I'm not good enough for not being able to achieve those. And I have to keep on pushing myself. I need to keep on proving myself.
So I'll give you the other example, and I don't feel like all my nephews, because they lived at home, yeah? They're similar ages to me, a little bit younger, 5 or 6 years, yeah? And they're all in their corporate job. They've got the backing of their parents. At the moment, they're in better jobs than me. And I do feel ashamed of that. That's one thing. But I've done some inner work on myself where I don't resent them. But the other thing is my eldest brother is holding back my inheritance. He's trying to keep it for himself because he believes as the male of the family, the eldest, he gets to keep it and he'll give it to us and in drips and drabs so he has the control. And I fought back and I've kind of got punished for that, to be fair, but it doesn't stop me. I don't know why. Yeah. So that's the picture. So at times, I do, whilst I don't resent my nephews, but the way they treated me because of their father's chauvinism is unacceptable. So I've cut them off.
Yeah. Does that prove that you're not harsh on yourself?
I thought by not having that kind of toxic environment around me, I'm looking after myself more.
What I mean by you're not hard, you're very harsh on yourself, by the way. And you can tell me if you're not harsh on yourself, by the way.
No.
Although, like, those are things that you've gone through,
Mm.
Like you're beating yourself over because you haven't achieved certain results. And even in your language pattern right now, it's like, hey, everyone achieved XYZ. I haven't achieved, like, I'm not achieving anything like meaningful in my life right now. Even when you say that, it's like the devil's advocate here for a second, okay? Devil's advocate. Do you have to achieve or get certain results in your life to actually feel proud for who you are and to be happy and content for who you are?
I'm going to be honest with you, Joan.
Yeah, be
Part
honest
of
with
me,
me.
yeah, part of me does absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty, because
Yeah,
Like
without like honesty and like extreme ownership, I mean, how are you gonna solve your problem? Like
vulnerability.
with power. I mean, there's a part of you where theoretically, consciously, that you just have to be proud for who you are and be unapologetic and ruthless for
Mm.
who you are, not for what
Yeah.
you've achieved. But the thing is, because of the incidents that happened to you and the
Yeah.
meetings that was appointed and the emotions that was appointed, therefore, deep down you should be living based on how proud you are for who you are, but you place meaning on your external situation. And therefore, if something doesn't go your way in your life, you question your self-worth. Strip away,
No. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm listening.
yeah, like, but I might be wrong though over here.
I I accept losing my mother took a lot out of me because it's the only time because I healed that relationship. Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of work went into that. A lot of work went into that. So I'm not. But what I'm saying, so when she went, I was at peace with the fact that both my mother and I had built a relationship. What I struggled with was the aftermath. Like, oh my God, I finally get to be at a space of peace, and God took her away from me. So that was a whole nother. And I literally went downhill after that. I've never had depression in my life. Yeah, I've always got up and I've achieved. It's just my DNA. Yeah, something happens, I will have a backup plan. That's the kind of person I am. However, after that, there were 2 weeks I did nothing. That's just not that's not me. 2 weeks, I did absolutely nothing.
And when you
That's not
say
being
like
harsh on yourself, right?
going back to the point of like,
Mm.
you know why like that depression actually like whatever you're depressed with your mom and everything, you know why that went away, by the way?
Why?
Because you decided to forgive that relationship in the end.
Yes.
But how forgiving are you with yourself? That's the real question.
Not as forgiving.
Right. That's
I'm not.
do you see like how you not being forgiving, like you've seen the effect of forgiveness, by the way.
Mm.
Do you see how you not being forgiving for yourself and for who you are and what you haven't achieved or what you've achieved, whatever it is? Do you see how that's impacting your current life right now, even, or the life that you can be living, or the life that you've been living so far as well?
No.
You don't see that?
No.
What do you mean by you don't see that?
Well, because I think if I push hard and I'm strategic, I'll achieve.
Then another perspective. By the way, bear with me over here, okay? Because I like to stress test on certain things,
Yeah.
on whether that's truth or not. Because in the end, like it's your truth, my truth, and the truth itself, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it really 100% true that you need to push through to actually get the results that you want? That's the only way to get success in life?
So no, the only reason I say that
This is how I like to poke holes now in certain concepts.
because I have listened to some of Ibrahim's.
This is good, by the way, because the prospect's not trying to argue against me or anything. She's just telling me the truth right now. But she keeps on thinking like, hey, I need to push through to get the results that I want. I'm selling the exact opposite of it, which you need to let go to get the results that you want. Then eventually she wouldn't see the value in it. I just need to push through. Like, what's the point of hypnosis? So now I'm like stress testing, poking holes, which is my favorite way of preventing objections.
Videos, okay, the 1.5 hour video before I came on the call, I listened to that, and in there when he gave the example of the Uber driver and Bezos, yeah, it made me think. I don't know if you saw that video with
I know. Like, I mean,
uh,
I live right next door to Ibrahim, so
oh, okay, so you're in Dubai as well.
yeah.
Okay, so with that example, for instance, it made me think. Now, I do think Bezos works hard, but because he enjoys it so much, it doesn't seem like work to him.
There you go.
That's what I think. Whereas with the Uber driver and me at the moment, I think I'm doing something that I don't particularly enjoy. I resent, like, I'll give you an example with the sales. I will achieve 3 times what my colleagues do. And I've just realized the pattern just talking to you now. 3 times what my colleagues do, yet I'm getting the paid the same as them. That's why I made a decision last October, just before my birthday, to get out of this.
Yeah. So what I'm asking you then again is like, is pushing through the only way to actually get the results that
No.
you want? And just me stress testing, right? She said, I just feel like pushing through is the only way to get the results that I want. So one question in terms of devil's advocate, is that really the only way to get the results that you want? And then she gave me a whole speech. I'm listening to it. I'm like, she basically overcame her own objection over here. The other side of this is if you were to enjoy every single second of who you are,
Mm.
and therefore you enjoy every single second of what you get to do, not what you need to do, but what you get to do for who you are, like what would you achieve in your life then? Instead of like just pushing through and grinding it out and like associating everything as like just need to
Yeah.
do and pushing through.
I think it would be a lot easier and a lot lighter.
Because seriously, like, I mean, by the way, there are two ways to get the results that you want, as you said. There's the push through way of like absolutely pushing through, grinding it out, using guilt and shame and just battling yourself saying, I'm not good enough and therefore I need to do this and keep pushing yourself and get the results that you want. I see like majority of the entrepreneurs are like that. Yeah. And the second case is like I've seen entrepreneurs where they get success very, very effortlessly. Like everything that they do, it turns to gold. And it's just like you're not even working that hard. You're not you don't have that grind. But somehow, like, how come like you're able to spot opportunities that way and just able to just like get the results that you want in such an effortless manner?
I'm
It's
going to
like,
share something with you.
can I finish my sentence for example, first of all, real quick?
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
So with that, like you can use guilt and shame to push through, or you can be proud for who you are, and therefore you can get you can get to do the things that you want to do and get the results that you want. There are two ways to get the results that you want in the end, because which one would be more fulfilling and eventually get the results that you want in a faster time period as well?
Well, the one where I'm not pushing myself so hard.
Yeah, and that is what I meant by, is it really true that you need to push through to get the results that you want? Where if you keep on pushing, that's why I say your life would have been, you're very harsh on yourself. Your life would have been very hard in a way where you just pushed. Every single thing is just a push through, push through. I have to prove myself this. I have to get good at this. No one's supporting me, so I just need to really prove everyone wrong in a way. I have to prove myself with these external results, you know.
You're right.
Just push through.
Jordan, you're absolutely right.
And then it's like like you got the results that you want in a way. Let's say you got the results that you want, but the process of pushing through and losing yourself over and not feeling any joy about it, and you just because you achieved that, does achievement justify the fact that you lost who you are and you're not happy and proud of it even?
I'll share this with you. What I've realized was that I worked as a lawyer in a corporate, one of the big corporates in London, yeah?
Yeah.
And I pushed, I worked hard, I worked extra hard, I worked 70-hour weeks. Yeah, I got to pretty high up in my profession. And I hated every goddamn minute of it.
Making sure I gut check every single objection that she gives me based on her language, and then just reframe from there. I mean, I've already taught you this, right? You know what you're doing to yourself. Or with a certain tonality, I like to ask, is that really true though? Is that really the only way to get the results that you want? From a 7-figure script standpoint, this is gonna be like a shitty call in a way. Like, oh, you're talking too much. Oh, June, you're using statements. Oh, June, you're making assumptions. Oh, guess what? The connection is there though. In the end, she told me, hey, this is the best conversation she's ever had. No one understands her more than I do. I'd rather have you trust your intuition based on psychological principles than just following a script for no reason. So for your offer, it's going to be a different game, but you get the point. If someone's being a difficult prospect and kind of comes off as very hard to crack, this is how you crack them. I'm in a position where I can command her to do things at this point.
I think one of the things I need to crack with my calls is like, I get a lot of people saying like, oh, they just couldn't find the knowledge. It's not out there. I feel like this direction would be better to go around that.
If they say something like, I don't have the knowledge, it's like, are you willing to actually gather the right productivity to get the right knowledge then?
It's like some people said looks maxing didn't exist. I had this guy yesterday. He's been wanting to change for 3 years, but looks maxing only got invented recently, so he couldn't have done anything about it.
If you're selling the knowledge gap, you're like, hey, that's unfortunate. Like, what are you going to do from now on since you know?
How would you like integrate the whole pan interrupt confusion thing with that?
What is the objection that they usually give you?
It's usually like they don't really know if it's worth it because it's just like their looks. I feel like I could remove that objection by making them realize how much it's cost them. But a lot of people are just like, I don't know if I want to spend this much money on my looks.
Yeah, first of all, establish how much does it cost them and what life would they be living. And then from that on, you want to be like, based on what you see, this has cost you this much. What should you do from here? I don't see if this is worth it. Are you 100% sure with that statement? Would you rather live life not knowing what's on the other side? What if you actually get treated differently?
Yeah.